What's up, my friends? How's it going today? Again, this will be the third or fourth video I've made today, and as somebody pointed out the other day, sometimes I'll make a bunch of videos in one day, and sometimes I'll just won't make one for a week. But it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. You notice lately I've done a lot more exposures of kind of my own personal viewpoints on life, but also my own shortcomings, my own vices, my own fears, and when I sat down to make this video, I noticed that the neighbor was mowing his lawn, which is, there's always some noise, but hopefully it's not too distracting, but I decided it would be a nice ambiance. A lot of people have their background inspirational music. I'll just use the sounds of the end of summer. I've been through a lot of shit in my life, but I consider myself to have had a pretty, I would say I'm not a sheltered life, but maybe a lucky life. Not a lot as bad has happened to me, but a lot of this is perspective, because over the last 10 years, anything bad that's happened to me, I take it as something that makes me stronger. In other words, right now, it just popped into my head that I spent months in pain. Like I was telling my wife yesterday about how I've been feeling down, stressed, unsure what to do, and not sure what corner to turn and how to proceed in life. And she goes, well, God, you were just in pain for like ever, like months. And I was just like, I completely forgot about it. I totally forgot, and I just recovered like a month ago. And I thought, this is the beauty, this is what I wanted out of life. I wanted to be able to forget the bad times and just look for the good. But at a point, if I sit here and tell you guys all about how great life is and you just have to think positive, that's just a bunch of bullshit. We all face a bunch of downfalls, we all face our addictions, our shortcomings, our vices. And I sat down to make the video. I made sure that I brought out my cup of coffee, which I think I'm using. This is like a Kirkland brand, Costco brand, organic coffee, which actually I think they get it from Starbucks, but delicious. I make my coffee super thick, like syrupy and sweet. And yes, I had my vice with sugar for a long time. Now I use Splenda and maybe a little bit of sugar. Just another one of my vices. Gotta have my coffee, And gotta have my kratom in the daytime and my vape. And I just think, God, why do you have to have all these blankets? I consider that sucking your thumb. I've called this the mechanical nipple. That's how I perceive it. And it's people. When you really think about it, we have this natural kind of desire to go back to our comfort stage, if you will, and so. Many people don't realize that this addiction to the oral fixation often goes back to our youth, and even a lot of folks in psychology believe that the anal stage is actually, when people say somebody's anally retentive, that this goes back to issues with pooping and whatnot. I don't want to get into psychology, but it's really interesting the things that happen to us when we're young that we remember that affect us strongly. And I grew up with parents who smoked. Of course they told me not to smoke, of course. But I started smoking, and they didn't do much about it. It's not their fault that I kept smoking, because I would have anyway. It's the same with cannabis. Same with when I was tattooing hate across my knuckles at 14 years old. My mom walked in and saw my friend and I both doing stick and poke tattoos, and she just freaked out. Just didn't know what to do. She went crying in her room, and I was like, whatever. High at the time, not thinking, not caring. We were taking Dilaudid, being stupid kids. My father had passed away the year before, and I was taking his medication, and that's a strong opioid, taking Dilaudid by the handful, and didn't know any better as kids. So it's just kind of a story of a moment of weakness in my life where I didn't realize what I was doing, the stupidity, the stupid things we have, our vices, but I kept hate on my knuckles to remind me of that, because I don't regret it. It's just part of life. It hasn't held me back from any major career advancements or anything. Or maybe it has, I don't know. But I kind of take things as they come. I have moments where I just feel like life is so overwhelming, and how I could just lose it at the slightest drop of the hat, another event, but I feel strong enough to where I don't feel like I would ever have a complete psychotic breakdown or just, lose my mind. But there have been moments where I've been so anxious, I really could understand how a person could have a panic attack and lose it, especially even on high doses of cannabis extracts. back in the day when I first started dabbing extract, very strong hash, and I was by myself sitting here thinking about life, and I started panicking and getting butterflies in my stomach. And so the reason I bring that up is because drugs are a major component of this discussion I'm having right now. I don't like to talk about my own use, but as I've already shared my vices, my coffee, my kratom, my cannabis. About 4 years ago, I drank alcohol maybe once every few months. I'd have maybe a beer or two at a concert. Didn't really care for it. Didn't think it was worth the hangover or feeling crappy after a few hours. But as I know, if you drink long enough regularly, then a lot of the negative effects go away and you start to enjoy it more, unfortunately. The same thing happens with cannabis sometimes. However, the downside of this is alcohol made me feel motivated, and it helped me with my appetite, because I have a low appetite, and I wanted to be able to have a beer before I ate, maybe. And it became drinking, at least weekly, and then every other day. Now, I don't get drunk. I'm not an alcoholic. I have been drinking, though, regularly for a while, so I decided it's time to just stop altogether. And I thought back to being in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, which it was court mandated. I was forced to go. This was back when I got busted growing pot, and I was the only other pot smoker in there out of a class of like 40 people. Everybody was there for smack or crank or, cocaine was a big one. And, cocaine to me is a moron's drug, sorry to say. Not sorry to say. No, I'm not sorry at all. It's a disgusting drug that if a person does some once in a while at a party or something, so be it. But if you actually seek it out and buy it on a regular basis, you're a fool. It's high priced. It just makes you want more right away. Well, kind of the poor man's coke was amphetamines, and methamphetamine, it's funny because I don't want to get into my history with these drugs, but believe me, I know them all well. The only thing I haven't really had a major issue with was heroin. I've only smoked it once or twice in the past, didn't care much for it. But I've taken my share of pills, and I have definitely seen how people can get pulled into these ways of living, if you will, or the ways to stop yourself from living in many events. But when it came to amphetamines, when I was younger, in the late 90s, they were readily available. There was crystal meth everywhere. It was beautiful crystals, just grind them up. And I say beautiful in the sense that when you're doing it, you know what you're looking for, and you know that smell, and you know what looks good. And I had access to some really good stuff with my friend that I worked with at the gas station. So there we are, I'm 19 years old, and smoking meth with this guy I met and then snorting it. Horrible time in my life. There was a time when I stayed up for 5 fucking days straight. 5 days. The 5th night I finally went to bed. And what did we do? We sat in a windowless storage space under a condo and played cards the whole time. We ran out of cigarettes, and we were all smokers, and we still went without cigarettes for 3 days while we were tweaking because we were too high to leave and walk to the store. The hallucinations that you have after staying up that long is horrible, and after that I was like done. The problem is, and the point why I'm bringing this up is because when you are in that state of mind, you don't realize how fucked up you are. When I quit, I said, holy shit, darn it, it's going to get louder. I'll finish this up. The same thing happened with cocaine. It creeps up on you. The same thing can happen with anything. Heroin's the one I never tried because I knew that I'd probably enjoy it. And so anyhow, being honest with yourself, I really don't want to end this video and move on because I'll never finish it if I go indoors. So damn the lawnmower, but here's what I'll do. Try to turn it away a little bit because I have this little microphone cover thing that kind of protects it slightly. Maybe that'll help a little bit. When I look back in retrospect on those times when I was doing those substances, I realized what a fool I was. And hindsight's 20/20, right? Well, when I'm sitting here now vaping and drinking my coffee, I think, well, I look back on all these times and think, damn it, I wish I would have known better then. I don't know. Caffeine is something that I've always consumed. Maybe I should quit for a while. I don't know. Kratom, on the other hand, Kratom has been a godsend for me. yes, I remember life before Kratom. And as for cannabis, I stopped smoking cannabis for probation twice, once for 2 years. Just enjoy smoking cannabis. So those are the things that I do, and if I don't abuse them and go overboard, then they can be very useful. And maybe that's just a cop-out and an excuse, but I don't care. That's what I'm saying. I'm in touch with my own obsessions. I tend to have a little more anxiety than I let off, and my tics and twitches and kind of moments of depression, the ups and downs of the daily life, even 2 o'clock p.m. when you kind of feel like, whether you're working or at home, a lot of people have that. And the craziest thing is that I'm most motivated in the evening. No matter what I do in the morning and afternoon, I just cannot get to that full motivation in the evening. And so I was just about to fall asleep a while ago, actually. Then I made my coffee. I said, I can't fall asleep now. We've got a babysitter coming in a few hours. We're going to a concert tonight, the Jerry Garcia birthday band with some friends. So I want to be lively and ready to go. But I don't know, I guess maybe it's just, I'm making this to say, what about substances, How guilty should we feel about drinking coffee, taking Kratom or whatnot? But some of these harder drugs, they can really fuck your mind up. They make you think you're okay when you're doing things that are horrible. They'll take away your motivation to do anything, reasonable. They will compromise your values and integrity, make you steal from others, to get tweaked, to get your heroin, and this affects many families out there. So I guess I'm going to end it there because the lawnmower's pretty fucking annoying. No matter how much I try to ignore it, I know that it's going to drive you guys nuts too. My message to finalize is you're not alone. If you feel like you really want to, I've never felt overwhelmed. It reminds me of when I was forced to go to AA, and they said the first step is to admit that you're powerless over the drug and only a higher power can help you. I never could pass the first step because I figured I'm my own higher power, if that I am part of the whole, and that it has to come from within. Asking for help, that's fine, but not a higher power, just another power. And I guess it's all perception and how you perceive words, but semantics. What I really wanted to, I guess, get across is that you have to know whether something is damaging to you in your life and whether or not it's out of control. If people tell you have an addiction, by definition, an addiction is a consumption of something or a behavior which is compulsory, that you do on a regular basis, which causes harm to you or yourself or others. Which is why an addiction means that you're spending money you don't have and you can't feed your family, or you're getting in car accidents because you're drinking and driving, things that are causing you life problems. If you take Kratom every morning and it helps you to wake up and get motivated for the day, that's not an addiction, that's a habit. And there is a huge difference. If you just smoke cannabis at night and it helps you rest a little better, that's a habit. It becomes an addiction when you're not supposed to do it and you keep doing it. Like when I was on probation and I kept smoking pot and using someone else's urine to try to pass drug tests. Eventually I just said, this is not worth it. Before that, when I was on probation, I just kept getting dirty drug tests and said, I don't care. And I argued with my probation officer about the dangers of cannabis and said that there's no danger with cannabis. And she started bringing up cartels. And I said, if it was legal, there wouldn't be cartels. You get the point. Be strong and determine what you think is important in your life. Don't let other people beat you up because you have a cup of coffee. There's something I want to talk about in a separate video. I can't remember what it's called. But it's like kind of like an eating condition. It's like oxyorexia or something. It's basically where people become obsessed to healthy eating, healthy consumption, and it becomes an addiction. They're afraid to eat anything pasteurized, processed, or different. And this is the same kind of mentality of a person who had a drug problem. They quit and then they're forced to never touch another substance again. Like an ex-alcoholic, they're not even allowed to touch cannabis. But they can sit in an AA meeting, drink coffee, vape, or smoke cigarettes, and nobody says a damn word about it. Drugs are drugs, and where you draw the line is up to you. So this message is brought to you by Thinking for Yourself and Loud Lawnmowers. Be well, my friends. Talk to you later.